doesn't add up, it doesn't equal up. So don't buy into the rhetoric. Black lives matter.
We are in
What do we want?
Live.
When do we
One
want
other
it?
Black Lives Matter protest in
What
front of
do
the
we
sheriff's
want?
office in New City.
When do
Let's
we
go.
want it? Now. Thank you. Now, Carolyn, did you come up the hill, right? Okay, just want to make sure my people are here. Well, then. Black lives matter. 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 We are here again, the Black Lives Matter Rockland Orange chapter. We have called our third rally, I believe. Fourth rally, thank you. Our fourth rally to keep the energy going and to keep our consistency going. What we are organizing for and why we are organizing. We are organizing against the systematic targeting of black communities. We are arguing against the systematic targeting of black men, women, and children by police departments across the country. The Black Lives Matter chapter in Rockland County stands in solidarity with Black Lives National Organization, the national chapter, and all the demonstrations that have occurred across the country. We are here to address a systematic problem. We believe the system is corrupt. We believe the system is flawed. We believe the system has failed. If they have failed anyone, then they have failed everyone. And we want to end to the systematic targeting. We want to end to the systematic murder. On July 5th, we were made aware of the murder of Alton Sterling. Then the next day, we saw the murder of Philando Castile. I don't know how you feel about that, but those two murders again reminded us that there is a much needed discussion that needs to happen, that there is a much needed response from the people. We need to respond when we see our collective people, when we see our people murdered by the system. So we thank you for coming out, because we wanted to organize here in Rockland to say that the problem that exists does not just exist in Baton Rouge, it does not just exist in Minnesota, it does not just exist, but it exists right here in Rockland County. It exists because the system is allowed to flourish. So we wanted you to come out, because the Black Lives Matter chapter in Rockland Orange wanted us to come together and discuss a plan of action. We also wanted to present a list of demands. And we know that there are other organizations who are out here. We thank you for joining us in solidarity. We know other organizations are also working on a response. We are also demanding justice. We have a plan or a list of demands that we want police departments to hear, but specifically even here in Rockland County. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. And we should never be ashamed to say that. You should never be made to feel like saying that is problematic. We know that once our system operates and moves in such a way in which it proves Black Lives Matter, then we know everyone will benefit from that. But as long as black people are the target, as long as black people and black communities continue to be oppressed and exploited, then we will always have a need for the cry, Black Lives Matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Before we get to our list of demands, I think we want to have the healing space or the healing conversation before we get to that. Not you? Anybody want? Well, does anybody have something to say first? We've done it all our rallies. We've discussed. If anybody wanted to share their stories, share their feelings about Black Lives Matter movement or any situation. With all that's happening and all that we have seen, we definitely understand that these things can leave a traumatic experience, can leave things in our mind, it can definitely affect us. So we want to offer this space and moment in time for anyone who may want to articulate or share something with the crowd. Is there anyone?
I just want to share something that I was just enlightened about with the senseless killing of the police officer in both Dallas and Baton Rouge. Those atrocities were both committed by ex-military men, black men that were in the military. And as much as black people have been through what we've been through, when you look at servicemen, they have an added level of anger because they've been sent away, sacrificed, put their lives on the line to liberate other countries. Yet they come home and there's no liberation for them. So you add that to the fact that they've already been trained to kill. The racism that they experience here in this country, you add all those factors together, and it speaks to, not that we're condoning, I'm definitely not condoning, but it speaks to a different level of anger and hostility that some have toward those in authority, police departments, and so forth. And so I was just enlightened on that, and find it very interesting that now that police departments have been targeted by sick people, now there's a movement to try to, let's look at the gun laws. When children died in Connecticut and all these mass killings that were committed by whites, the country seemed to glaze over them and keep it moving. But now that the table has turned and we're seeing those atrocities being committed by blacks, which is not typically in our character, and you know at the RNC they are temporarily suspending the open carry laws. That's not a coincidence. So let's look at the whole picture, but I just wanted to bring that out because that's something that I was enlightened to, and I feel like it needs to be added to the conversation. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Amen.
Cheryl doesn't want to do self-care today. When we continue to see death, destruction, hate, it has an impact on us. And people say you get desensitized, but I don't believe that. I believe we are re-traumatized over and over again. So I'm asking you to take care of yourself. It's okay to turn off your TV, to, turn off social media, do a social media, I hate to say this, I hate the word like when you do music, blackout, but you can do that. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be in community to people. It's okay to, if you believe in religion, to talk to your pastors and your reverends. It's okay to have these feelings. And we're not talking about it enough. I think that we sit with this stuff and it festers inside of us, and that fester turns into all kinds of illnesses and sicknesses. So I want us to be able to understand, to have self-care, and I said this about our community, as far as the black community. Our mental health is not a #1 priority. Money has been taken out of our communities for all kinds of other stuff, but I would like for us to be able to understand that, to get help, to talk to folks, talk to family, and be real mindful of how you're feeling and be in touch with those feelings. Because why?
Black Lives Matter!
I ain't do that no more. Y'all gotta be like quick on that. Okay? Be quicker on that, alright? So we take care of yourselves. And I'm gonna say this too, because every time I do these, you know, only time I feel a lot of love is at these rallies. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, I love y'all. And know that I surround y'all in love. And I hope you surround me in your love. Okay? Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. We got to say that loud. We got to say that continuously. We got to say that over and over again until we make them hear us. Till we make them hear us. We got to say it over and over again, despite all that's happening. And I want to thank the sister for connecting the dots. All that's happening, all that you will be fed by media and trying to change the perception of Black Lives Matter. As our sister Vanessa said, we are not a hate group. We chant Black Lives Matter because we do this out of love. And we understand that once our system operates and functions in a way that Black lives do matter, everyone benefits.
Yes.
Everyone benefits from that. So we thank you, all our allies. We thank you for all of you who get that and who will not allow the rhetoric to change, who will not allow, despite what has happened, will not accept the criminalization or the continued criminalization of black men or the continued criminalization of black organizations. This is, if you understand history, this tactic is not new. Black organizations quite often are criminalized, quite often are speak ill of. But understand, we do this out of love. And we do this because we know we have to demand that our lives are of value. We have to be the first ones to demand that. So, today we want to read a short list of demands that we have for right here in Rockland County. We decided to come here in front of the sheriff's office because this office is symbolic of what is happening here in Rockland County. This office here is symbolic of some of the police tactics and some of the systematic racism that also exists here in Rockland County. One of our demands, and this is a demand that I know is going on from the national chapter as well. They want to defund, make sure I'm saying it right, demilitarize and disarm police departments across the country. Defund, disarm, and demilitarize, right? Police departments across the country. Now I understand police officers have a hard job, but do you understand that in Dallas, Texas, the way that situation, Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Do you understand? Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Do you understand that the way that system or the way that issue was dealt with last week was through the bombing of the suspect? Do you understand that? They blew up the individual. Now I'm not here to say whether the decision was tough or not. I'm sure it was tough, but I just want you to understand where we are at now. That we have a situation where cops, many police departments have the option to blow you up. This is why there is a call to demilitarize, defund, disarm police departments across the United States. One of our list of demands right here in Rockland County. If you look at the population of color, primarily Latino and black men in Rockland County make up a little bit more, about 20-25% of the county. According to the census, black and Latinos make up about 4 to 7% of the police force in Rockland County. I believe we need to see an increase in that number. I believe that the number of black officers, Latino officers, need to be proportionate to the number of blacks and Latinos in the Rockland community. This is not an old claim. This is something that has been preached and argued for a few years. The response has been that blacks are not scoring high enough on the test. The response has been that blacks are not scoring high enough on the test. Our response to that is change the damn test. Change the test. They used that argument not too long ago in New York City as it was regarded to their fire department, and I believe their police department also. There was a class action lawsuit that found that there are implicit biases in these tests. Change the test. Figure out a way that you can righteously and justify the hiring of black men, women, and children, not children, black men and women here in Rockland County. All right? There's no excuse. And we know, any teachers out here in the crowd, anybody a teacher, we know that there are implicit biases in many standardized tests. We know that when we find out who makes these tests, who comes up with these questions, there are implicit biases. And the police test is no different. We want to change to the test. We want to ensure that black men and women can also police their communities from which they reside. So we're calling for more black patrol officers, because 80% of the officers who are hired end up in correctional officers, as correctional officers. Those are the officers who reside in the jails, in the prisons. But those are not the officers that we see patrolling our neighborhoods, stopping you while driving black. Those are not the officers we see. We want to see a rise in the amount of black patrolling officers. Not only that, but if you look at Rockland County in their government structure, you won't see a lot of people of color. You will not see a lot of people of color in the structure of government. That's why this is bigger than just police departments. We are addressing the systematic racism that allows this system to function. So it doesn't just start or stop here at police departments. At some point in time, we need to go down the street to the government buildings to let them know that they need to have more black politicians in Rockland County as well. So we don't only want more black patrolling officers, but we want more black ranking officers. We need to see black ranking officers. Now, I don't know if you guys did your research on the Dallas Police Departments, but the Dallas Police Department has made some of those changes that many were arguing for. Right? Their history has shown that. But and their chief is a black man. And I'm just saying, I know that if you put more of us in there, more people of color in there, they will not stand for. My faith tells me if you put more people of color in these positions, that they won't stand for the systematic oppression of their communities. So we want to see more patrolling officers. We want to see higher ranking officials as well. And as I mentioned before, we also want to see more political officials. Now someone said to me, well, isn't that dependent on who you vote for? Well, there is a vetting process. We want the Democratic Party and the Republican Party of Rockland County to stop just vetting white politicians. There are plenty of black community organizers, community activists, plenty of black and people of color, Latino community activists who can definitely help govern Rockland County. So we are also calling for the vetting of black officials so that we can have a better choice and more choices. Also, we want an end to stop and frisk and racial profiling. Black lives matter! Black lives matter! We want an end to stop and frisk and racial profiling. We know what stop and frisk is, where officers just off of suspicion will stop and frisk you. Racial profiling, where for no other reason than primarily your race, you are automatically deemed suspect, automatically deemed trouble. The officer in Minnesota, on the audio of his dispatch, revealed that he stopped Philando Castile because his nose was wide. Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yes, we do.
Even though we know he told Philando Castile that his taillight was out. These are the things we want to see an end to. It's not just about the officer, but it's about the system that makes the officer think he or she has a right to stop someone over a reason as frivolous as that. So we want an end to the stop and frisk and the racial profiling that happens not just across the nation, but also here in Rockland County. We want an end to the intimidation of black and brown immigrant communities. We want an end to the intimidation of black and brown immigrant communities. Through this intimidation, they feel that they cannot speak up or speak out against some of the unjust actions that have happened to them for fear of being deported. If you have conversations with some of those in that community, you will understand that many of them are silent and stay silent for fear of deportation. We want an end to that type of intimidation that projects the notion that if you talk, if you complain, you will be deported. We want an end to that. Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Our last demand for today, we also, even though we know that ultimately this has not been enough, we desire the police officers in Rockland, we want all their cars to have dash cams, and we also want them to wear body cameras. Black lives matter! Black lives matter! We want all their cars equipped with dashboard cams, and we want them to wear body cams. We want the police departments to do as much as they can to ensure the real story is told.
Transparency.
We want transparency. We want the ability for the public to consume what comes up on those dashboards and those body cams. That's what we want. Those are our demands. More black police officers in Rockland, patrol officers, more hot black ranking officials. We want an end to stop and frisk and racial profiling. We want an end to the intimidation of black and brown immigrant communities. And we want dashboard and body cams available to every police officer in Rockland County. Now some might say, Rockland County has not experienced what has happened in Baton Rouge, or what has happened in Minnesota, or what has happened with Sandra Bland in Texas. Do your history. It wasn't too long ago where there was a situation where a man was shot and killed by police in Rockland County. But also, we do not want to be reactionary. We want to be proactive in our attempts. We are not going to wait until a tragedy or a travesty of justice happens before we start demanding some serious changes in the police departments in Rockland County. Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Now, before I get off this bullhorn, I've been here for a minute, we also have to challenge ourselves. We also have to challenge ourselves. Never feel guilty about chanting Black Lives Matter. Never feel guilty about chanting that. Don't get caught up in the rhetoric that by chanting Black Lives Matter, you're not respecting all life. Black Lives Matter is a chant for respect of all lives. That's what Black Lives Matter is. By chanting All Lives Matter as a response to Black Lives Matter, you continue the negation, the historic racist negation of black bodies,